planning our big day, summer 2021. He wanted to ask his best friend, John, 27 male, to be best man, and I vetoed it. John dated my sister, 28 female, back in college. It's how I met my fiancé, and they ended it on a pretty bad note. My sister's my maid of honor, and I didn't want there to be tension at the altar, and my fiancé understood that, and John was cool with it. I just didn't want any drama. Last Friday, my sister was over visiting me. Fiancé was working, and she said, "I heard John's going to be at the wedding. I don't think I want to go with him there." And although I can understand why my fiancé wanted John to be there, I wanted my sister there even more. So I assured her that I would talk to my fiancé about this. Later, when fiancé came home, I sat him down and talked about the previous discussion I had with my sister. And to say the least, he was not okay with it. Saying stuff like, "First, not best man, fine. Not a groomsman? Okay, whatever. But now I can't even be at the wedding? No." I told him I'd rather have my sister than John, a person that isn't even related to you at the wedding, and I pleaded he would at least hear me out. He didn't. He left the house and had been crashing at John's place since. I don't know. Am I the a-hole here? Like, it makes sense to me. Blood sister outweighs best friends, right? Just wanted some outside perspective from internet strangers. I hate airing drama to people I actually know. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Unless John did something criminal to your sister, you should blame her for not putting you first on your wedding day. Because right now, you aren't putting your sister over John. You're putting your sister before your fiancé. Edit to add. Willing to change my vote if OP's sister has a valid reason to not want to be around John. OP says sister cheated on John and he left her. You're the a-hole. The sister should have lost maid of honor when she complained. She was the cause of the problems in the relationship. I can't believe the audacity that she thinks she can dictate who is there to support the groom, let alone have sole control of the guest list. I'll take sweepstakes on the groom dumping her entitled behind within 3 years. You're the a-hole, obviously. OP, your fiancé might be lucky and can avoid marrying someone with as low morals as you. Your sister cheated on John, and he is getting punished because your sister couldn't keep her loose legs closed? You're the a-hole. Actually, the biggest a-hole is your sister. She's demanding that another guest cannot attend because that is outside her comfort zone. Tell your sister that is not her wedding. Your fiancé has already acquiesced and had John step down as a groomsman. You need to shut your sister down and remind her that it isn't her wedding, and she's not going to be calling the shots. From OP's comments, emphasis mine. To give more context about that, my sister cheated on John and he ended it. My sister says it's just too awkward to be around him, which I can understand. I don't think they would actively fight each other. The last time they were in the same room, a barbecue we had before COVID, they just stayed polar opposite of each other. But I want my sister to be there for me, and I didn't think inviting John would cause fiancé to react how he's reacting. You're the a-hole. Wow, OP. This is his best friend since kinder, and yet somehow, I didn't think inviting John would cause fiancé to react how he's reacting. What did you think would happen? Yeah, obviously your cheating sister shouldn't have to feel uncomfortable. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my sister leave my wedding reception after her son acted up during my ceremony? I got married this past Saturday. It was a very small affair with less than 70 people in attendance. I opted for a child-free wedding due to both costs and convenience. I like kids, just not at my wedding. Most people were fine with the child-free aspect. The wedding was announced a year in advance, so most people could find accommodations. The problem is my sister, who was one of 4 bridesmaids. She has 2 boys, one is 2 and other is 5. Thursday, she drops that her sitter fell through, and she asked for them to be allowed at the wedding. I felt pressured, but she begged for them to come. I told her as long as they behaved, and her husband kept an eye on them. She was late getting to the venue because the boys were fuzzy getting ready, so she's only in a handful of the getting ready pics. Fine, okay. Then the ceremony itself happened, and my nephew, younger one, began to act up during the vows. My husband and I wrote our own, and about halfway through mine, he begins to cry and fuzz. My brother-in-law grabbed him and very awkwardly made his way out, with my older nephew behind telling his brother to shush. I had to restart my vows twice due to the disruption. I was already nervous. The venue was outdoor as well, so we could hear my nephew fuzzing for a while until my brother-in-law got them a good distance away. I didn't see this at the time, but according to the best man, my sister was dramatically shooing her husband out. After the ceremony itself, my sister vanished for a while, so we were held up with the wedding party photos again. After the pictures, my sister didn't even say anything. No apology, nada. After the first dances, she finally came up and was like, haha, sorry about nephew. It was nap time. He's settled now. It was such a non-apology and I was so upset. I told her I didn't like how dismissive she was of my wedding and how I broke my own rule to accommodate her family and she didn't seem to care. She said she was sorry again, but I was blowing things out of proportion and how it wasn't as big of a disruption as I was making out to be. I was just boiling at this point. I'd asked her to please go. I didn't want her there anymore. She and our mom was upset and she was acting like a victim. She and I still haven't talked. I've had a lot of people, mostly friends, say I was in the right. But my family seems to think I'm a bridezilla because the disruption had already happened and I was just punishing them. I'm not angry at my nephew. I'm angry at myself for bending on my child-free rules and my sister for everything, especially her half-baked apology. She's an a-hole for bringing them and making you feel pressured when you already set up boundaries and preferences for that situation exactly. Not an a-hole. Maybe it's me, but I would have told her, sorry if you can't find a sitter. Then you or brother-in-law have to miss out. I already am anxious enough I don't need to risk a speech disruption. Maybe then you'd have been made out to be a bridezilla too though. It is a big deal. A deal that only happened because she made you, which she basically did. I hope you could have said no, but then sister/family would have probably went off about that. And she'd have more drama right before the wedding. Make an exception on your day, and it's ended up interrupting your vows. She proceeds to give a pathetic attempt at an apology to save face, but seems to be vaguely gaslighting you in the process, which is why I guess you ended up asking her to leave, because who does that on a day like that? At least fake through an apology and accept responsibility. This is why I opt for eloping. Haha, can't win for losing. I originally wanted to elope, but it just never seems to happen that way. Part of the post I had to remove was that I originally told her she could bring them to the reception only, but not the ceremony. She really pleaded for them to come to both, and like an idiot, I agreed. 2 infants were also in attendance, a 10-month-old and 4-month-old, my husband's cousin's kid and a friend's child respectively. But during the ceremony, cousin's wife watched the babies in the bridal suite. I was gonna let my brother-in-law do the same, but my sister didn't want him to miss the ceremony. Not the a-hole. Shocked at the number of your a-hole replies here. I don't love traditional weddings, I don't understand not inviting kids, but it's your day. You gave people a year of advance notice, and you actively tried not to be a bridezilla by accommodating your sister's kids. She should never have put you in that position. Not the a-hole. It's unfortunate she couldn't find accommodations, but couldn't her husband just have taken care of them at home? You held up your wedding multiple times for it, and honestly, I'd want to be done with it all too. She knew it was nap time, and instead of having her child sleep it off somewhere with her husband, she brought the child to your vows so he could scream like every child does when they're tired. The wedding was over, she got to attend, that's really the end of it. The reception is just eating dinner and some dancing anyway. Wait, you're right. She probably knew the baby would get fuzzy at the time of the ceremony. Sister is either lazy, selfish, or plotting. While I understand parenting is hard, I feel like she could have managed to figure this stuff out. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I don't think this was some nefarious or ill-intentioned thing. We don't have a bad or strained relationship. She has no reason to purposely sabotage me. It's absolutely possible to do something in accident and still be a jerk. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom's husband his hurt feelings aren't my job to fix? My 34 male baby sister 24 female is getting married. Our dad died when I was 15 and she was 5, and our mom remarried to Roger when I was heading off to college. My sister came to me recently and asked if I would do the traditional father of the bride stuff at her wedding. She said having me to do it was the closest to having dad, and I agreed. I was so damn happy and honored, and my baby sister means everything to me. Only, Roger is pissed and hurt that he was overlooked and wasn't asked to any kind of parent of the bride role in the wedding. Roger came to me about 2 weeks ago when my sister started doing some of the planning, and he told me he was hurt that his daughter didn't want him to do it, and was instead overlooked for a brother who, while close to her, didn't raise her like he did. And that the same could be said for her want of a connection to our dad. That he was the one who raised her, not dad, and he felt like he was being pushed aside for a ghost. He went on and on about his feelings, and he asked me to do him a solid and tell her to get him instead. I told him no, and that his hurt feelings aren't my job to fix. He said my response was very cold, and my mom is hurt I didn't put more of an effort in to encourage my sister to include him. She wanted me to want my sister to have her living dad be there for this important moment and this important role. I have family weighing in left and right, and honestly, I am pissed. The reason I am approaching this post at all is my grandpa, who I love and trust as much as almost anyone, told me I could have been more sensitive in my rejection to his request. And while he couldn't judge harshly, the man had done his best to be there for my sister. So tell me, people of Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edited to add, he and I had a very rough start. It is in my mom's wedding, at the reception actually. He asked me to start calling him my sister's dad, because he felt it would help her frame it that way, and because I'm married to your mom now and will be raising your sister as my daughter, and I feel like it is better now that we start as we mean to proceed. He was not happy when I told him no, though he never did breathe a word to my mom about that encounter either. We had a fight of sorts a few years later, because I chose to attend a party in my dad's family versus attending a funeral for someone in his. I'm not sure about my sister. I just know she never ever liked him calling himself her dad, and she never saw him as her dad. Now for the top comments. Not the hole. This isn't even your call. This is your sister's decision. Have your family talk to her, or better yet, they should accept that she has made her choice and they can all deal with it. They are all adults, as is she. Your family is being petty about their own feelings. This is about your sister and her wants. You were right that stepdad's feelings are not your responsibility. Yeah. What if the brother said okay and told his sister he wouldn't do it and why? I can't imagine her response would be to then ask her stepfather. If it was me, my next decision would be to have no one do it. Not the a-hole. Although I agree with your grandpa, he could have been more sensitive. It's not reasonable for him to ask you to tell her to get him instead, but it is reasonable to feel hurt, and you could have acknowledged that. Maybe he should have been more sensitive as well, though. He didn't raise her, I did, is a very messed up thing to say about her father. It's not like the man was a deadbeat and left. He died, and Roger didn't come into the picture until she was 8. Did he really expect Obi to give a cordial reaction when what he said was low-key disrespectful? Not the a-hole. Your sister wants you to walk her down the aisle. It's her wedding, and it's what she wants. Period. Roger needs to stop making it all about him and start acting like that father claims to be and accept her decision. Right now, he's acting like a whiner. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for losing my cool on my father-in-law after he said no alcohol at my wedding? Context. Me, 28 male, and my fiancée, female 23, are getting married this summer. Wedding planning already started, and we're both paying for everything. No outside help. I get along with my fiancée's family, but my only issue is with her recovering alcoholic dad. The guy's basically a punk. He did it all. Stole, cheat, went to jail. He's the your mom was my girlfriend type of guy. What can I say? It's a small town, everyone knows each other. My fiancée is his only daughter, and she's always worrying too much about him, helping him with money, helping him with his living situation, and supported him in his recovery. We remain civil for the sake of all that's holy, but disagree often. He sat me down days ago to tell me about his journey in recovery and how challenging his experience was. He said he wants no alcohol at the wedding whatsoever. I was taken aback. I said that's not gonna work for me and my family. He said it's okay, we can have alcohol after the wedding is over. So after everyone has left? Absolutely not. I told him I'm sorry if he has an issue with alcohol at the wedding, but it's the norm, and he shouldn't dictate the wedding just because he thinks he needs to be accommodated. He said firmly that he doesn't understand why I'm choosing to satisfy my family, who can't spend one night without drinking liquor that tastes like urine to be my hill to die on. Funny coming from the man who gave up all he had for a drink. But let's not be so mean right now and weaponize his past. It's just one night is right. But of all nights, this is legitimately the night where alcohol should be available since, it's a celebration. Long story short, he went on about me, making the whole wedding about me and my family when I shouldn't. I flipped the hell out, lost my cool and told him it doesn't get a say. We argued till we were blue in the face and he refused to stand down. When I shouted that I'd uninvite him, he shouted back that that's his only daughter and he should be present at her wedding. I spoke to my fiancée. She says she's torn on this issue since she's happy and proud of her dad's progress and wants him to be at her wedding, and I shouldn't have spoken to him this way. My in-laws calling me an a-hole for taking my father-in-law's recovery lightly and refusing to do as suggested. I am the a-hole? Someone in recovery should know that an addict cannot expect everyone to accommodate their addiction. He can stay home if it's too hard to be at the wedding. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. My stepdad is an alcoholic, and he never asked me about this. He knew I was having booze at my wedding, and it was up to him to do what he needed to do to stay clean. Between my stepmother, in-laws, and my mom's family, no way was I doing that sober. My wife and I are both alcoholics in recovery, and we had an open bar to our wedding for our guests. Also, an exit plan. Always an exit plan. Not today, Hall. But your another poster was missing the forest for the trees. Alcohol at the reception is the trees. The forest? You got a big forest. Think about these statements and what they foreshadow for your married life. My fiancé is always worrying too much about him, helping him with money, helping him with his living situation. And your big fight with her dad? She says she's torn on this issue, and I shouldn't have spoken to him this way. You and her need to settle the issue of her dad's place in your lives, and how you are going to settle disputes that involve him in the future. This, 100% not the hell. And I definitely agree that Opie needs to have a conversation with fiancé. They need to set boundaries regarding father-in-law now before they get married and are legally tied together, because this could cause loads of contention down the road if hard lines aren't set in place. Not today, Hull. The wedding is about you and your fiancé. You get to decide details.